First of all, I am not an English native speaker, so I am sorry beforehand for my English mistakes. This whole analysis, the statistical analysis, has been performed with the data just after the end of Innistrad Crimson Vow. Have not played almost any game since, and Kamigawa and Streets of New Capenna have been released. So I don't know anything about the meta right now, I don't know anything about the game right now, because I have not been playing consistently. Only some midweek madness or something like that. The first application problem is the slow loading after each game. It takes 30 seconds approximately to go back to the main menu and start playing the next game. 10 of those seconds have on screen defeat, and they burn out your desire and cheer to keep playing. This screen should pass the moment you click on it, so you can go on to the next game. A background thread sending the data, a parallel thread, will allow the game to load faster, so you can go faster onto the next match. Many times it took the game over a minute to get a match, while you have to be waiting there on the loading screen doing nothing. These long waits make you burn out, make you feel that you're wasting your time. There should be colors to distinguish the different kinds of formats of the decks you have, not only shapes, standard, historic, brawl. They should have different colors. It's easier to find the one that you're searching for. With the filters, it's not enough. Base camp, secluded courtyard, make hangar, unclaimed territory. They should automatically pay the cost of spells that are related to them, not manually. Sometimes you have spells like Spoils of Adventure, but you cannot cast them since the auto-pay has used the colored lands instead of the base camp lands to use with the proper spells. It feels like the shuffler doesn't shuffle the cards and leave it as a stack. It feels like when you're going to draw a card, each time the shuffler computes which is the highest probability of the card that you would draw. So often that you draw only lands. So if there is a card that you have higher chance to be drawing among the pile of cards left in your library, that's the card that the shuffler is going to give you. There's a shadow of Sorin Markov from Magic 2020 that is shown in the main screen. The shadow exists, but not the avatar. That's a teaser with no results. Sometimes the timer starts counting for me when my opponent is the one who has a lot of triggers on their stack and I cannot do anything. Even if I am tapped out, I don't have abilities or spells, or I have just checked the pass priority until the next turn, I still get the timer on, even though the stack is full of abilities of my opponent. And this usually happens with Heliod life combo decks. People like video games in which you progress the more you play, but in Magic Arena you progress only if you win. And even if you win, you do not strictly progress because how the reward system is made. You only get a chance to progress, not a proper progress, due to how the ICR, individual card reward system, is made. Completing a game is enjoyable and rewarding. People play games to complete them. To complete a game, you need to make progress every time you play. Because progress is enjoyable. If you do not progress in a game, you get bored and you quit. I have been playing Magic Arena since 2018. In this game, you have to play every single day to make just a small amount of progress. You are forced to play every day, and doing so makes this game not enjoyable. I have played over a year, daily, since the release of Zendikar Rising, because of the hype of Innistrad Vampires, and I decided to make an statistic analysis of this game, and this is it. Each day, the more I play, the worse are my draws, and the best are the draws of my opponent. Many times, actually, I counted 7 in a row on the 20th of January of 2022, in which I left my opponent at 1 life, and they kept drawing board wipes, counterspells, good cards, answers, and I only kept drawing lands 7 times in a row. There are only 2 or 3 good decks, and you keep facing them over and over and over. It's boring and frustrating just to try to hoping for a win to get a small chance of progress. Improve the reward system so progress feels real. ICR, individual card reward, should always give you a card you already don't own 4 copies of. That is the main point of the data sheet that I have linked in the description of this video. Please check it out. As you can see, it's impossible to get all the cards from a new expansion, from a new set, using only ICRs. I mean, for free. If you always get a new card, you are encouraged to keep playing. If the ICR grants you an uncommon, you should get an uncommon card that you already do not own 4 copies of. The same should happen if you would get a rare card or a mythic card. And if you already own all the cards in Standard, you should start getting cards from Historic. And in the unlikely event that you own all the cards from Standard and Historic, you should just get wild cards for the next set when it releases. You should get ICRs from winning and from time spent playing matches. Not in the lobby or the main menu, but actually playing matches. Because players who have been playing the match until the very end, even though they have lost 7 times in a row, those players deserve a medal. They stayed there. They played until the end of the match. Players should be able to complete missions and gain experience points by playing with their own friends. They should count towards the daily and weekly missions or wins to get rewards. Magic the Gathering is mostly played among friends, so this should be encouraged. You should get a present for your birthday, either a booster pack or a complete progress of the vault or some sleeves or even a draft token. When you get an ACR or a cosmetic reward, you should be able to have a choice among what you want. For instance, get a card from the last set, the previous one, or one from the last year. The same would happen with 2 cosmetics. I have every Duel of the Planeswalkers on Steam. 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and I played a lot Magic Duels too. And I miss a proper story mode in this game, in Magic Arena. Like the one that we had in all those games, in which you learn how the mechanics work, how interact, or how the colors behave, their main idea of each one of them. It's something that this game lacks, and I believe that it would be very positive so new players can learn a lot about the game. The more a game gives to the player, I mean with progress and rewards, the more a player wants to play this game. But it should not be compulsory to play every single day to get everything that this game has to offer. I hate Alchemy. Why? Just why? I played Magic Arena because it was like playing paper Magic whenever I wanted to. I did not play Hearthstone because I did not like the digital-only mechanics and the rebalancing or reworking of the cards each few weeks or each few months. And then Alchemy came. We will implement digital-only mechanics. We will rebalance 2 powerful cards monthly. Seriously? It makes me feel like they want to make Hearthstone 2.0. Also, it feels like they want to frustrate the players who designed new strategies, new decks, and they had to work to get the cards little by little by forcing them to get new cards monthly or each 2 months. It's like another way of frustration. It used to be that a deck lasted for several months, but with this, it will feel like you have to switch from deck to deck monthly. And with the fast pace in life that we have right now, who has time to get all the cards and to design a new strategy monthly? If players don't enjoy a game, they quit. If players are forced to play a game every single day, they get bored and quit. Furthermore, you are forcing players who play with historic decks to face players who have Alchemy cards. There should be 2 different queues, one for historic only decks and historic only players, and another one for historic and Alchemy players. There should be a proper distinction among different queues of players, one for decks of historic only cards, another one for historic and Alchemy cards, then the same for standard and standard with Alchemy, and the last one for Brawl players and Brawl and Alchemy players. That way, Wizards of the Coast can gather more data among the different formats that they have and focus on the formats that are the most popular among players. But Alchemy is the main reason that I have quit consistently playing Magic Arena. Quoting from the Tolarian Academy Dice to Removal number 40 and minute 27, 26 seconds, my idea is that there should be kind of like a shared account among all the Magic the Gathering games, in which if you have a card in one of those games, you own the card in all of them. So, if you own a card in one of the platforms, you own that card on all of them. Those different platforms should be, of course, Magic Arena, Magic Online, Magic Duels, if you purchased the cards or you got them by playing the game, not when they opened the game and they gave you all the cards. But the same would happen with a Duel of the Planeswalkers, all of those games, that you had to purchase them to play it. Just to mention it, there's also a funny joke about Taco Bell tokens in the same Dice Removal podcast, and minute 30 seconds or so. That reminds me that I use pistachios as sub-rolling tokens for my Devour deck. Well then, I summon Mikoloth. And I devour my 5 sub-rollings. So Mikoloth enters the battlefield with 10 +1/+1 counters. The codes of pre-constructed decks for Arena, or maybe also the Commander decks for Arena. Bring back those codes. They encourage new players and old players to play both in paper and in digital formats. There should be proper discounts at the store in Magic Arena. 10% discount in one booster is not a discount. They had one day all of the standard boosters with 40% discount for one day. That is a discount. Lately, there has been no space for mid-range strategies in any format. Most of the decks are either ultra aggro, combo, or control. For instance, we can talk about the Izzet Phoenix strategy as a mixture of ultra aggro and combo, and also we have a lot of elves and goblins. I'm talking right now about the historic format in Magic Arena. When we talk about control strategies, we usually talk about white-blue or white-blue-red, Jeskai, control strategies with a lot of board wipes and big planeswalkers as Teferi, both versions in Historic Arena, and maybe Narset. Maybe adding more tools to survive all those board wipes would allow us to have space for mid-range decks and for aggro decks to have a chance to survive against those huge control decks that plague the meta. I play Magic Arena to play Magic digitally when I'm not able to do it physically. If I wanted to play to a digital-only card game, I would play Hearthstone. There should be different queues with cards allowed on each one of them. If you're a historic player, you want to play with people who only play with historic cards. You don't want to be matched with people who also have alchemy cards in their decks. It's not fair. Double feature, it's a failure. Please check the video of the professor, linked in the description. He explains it much better than I do. Putting only black ink on cards that have been released the same year, it's like trying to sell reprints for cheaper. you don't make an investment or any progress or anything new with that. And even the price is much higher. Also, why did they lower the quality of this product? The paper is much worse than several years before. And why so many products? People cannot keep the pace of the product releases that we are having. There are too many. You get overwhelmed and you just can't stand it and you quit. That's one of the reasons that many people have quit recently, besides Arena. My advice to Wizards of the Coast would be to have less amount of product, but of higher quality, both of the power of the cards and the paper of the cards. If you make your customer comfortable and that they enjoy your product, they stay for longer and they keep buying. That's the best way to have better income for yourselves. As a company, I prefer have a longer lasting customer than many few for a small amount of period, because I secure my income. Let's compare the price of a paper booster with a Magic Arena booster. A paper booster in my country, in Spain, it costs roughly €3. And a booster in Arena, it costs 1000 gold or 200 gems. You can buy gems in two amounts, in different amounts actually, but I'm going to take the cheapest and the most expensive. So if you buy 750 gems, it costs €5. The proportion to 200 gems, which is a booster, it's 1.33 euros. If you buy the pack of 20,000 gems, which costs €100, 200 gems, it costs €1. So a booster in Arena, it costs between €1 and 1.33 euros. The thing is that in a paper booster, you get 14 cards. 15 if you count the basic land or the gate in Dragon's Maze. So it's 10 commons, 3 uncommons, and 1 rare or mythic card. In Arena booster, you get 5 commons, 2 uncommons, and 1 rare. So you get 8 cards compared to 14. 15 if you count the basic land. It's not enough just for €1, which is a digital booster that you cannot get its value back. Physically, you can sell the cards or trade them, but in Arena you cannot do anything of that, like that, anything of the sorts. So it's not worth it to purchase in this game. There are several cards that were released at the early stages of Magic Arena that could have had a better design, lore-wise speaking. One of my favorite examples is Josu Vess, Lich Knight from Dominaria, the brother of Liliana. He commands an army of zombies. Zombies are mindless creatures who need the lead of a strong will to be commanded. The card creates zombie knights who follow their leader. But what happens when they lose their leader? They don't know how to behave. There's no mind that controls them. And thus, they are weaker. I would have preferred that Josu Vess created 1/1 zombie knight creatures with menace, but also gave +1/+1 to other zombies you control. Or even better, The Zombie Knight tokens are 1/1 with no abilities. Josu Vess would give +1/+1 to other zombies you control, and would give the ability of Menace to each zombie token you control. It would give a better fit for Josu Vess lore-wise. It would have the same board impact by itself, but it would synergize much better with other zombies. Party in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. Party was a mechanic that was introduced in Zendikar Rising. It was a mechanic that was really fun to play with, both in draft and constructed, but it had a mediocre impact. But Adventures of the Forgotten Realms was coming. Many D&D players, including myself, were expecting new interactions with the party mechanic in an expansion that clearly shouted party all over the place. But it never showed up. Instead, it was more focused in rolling d20s than in the lore and teamwork that it's unique to D&D games. A total failure. Our only hope is that they do what they had to do in the Lord of the Rings expansion, but then it will not coexist with Zendikar Rising. So then again, it will be a cool but weak mechanic. Other new mechanics that are cool but they're weak. They could have exploited these mechanics a little bit more, so they would be a little bit more powerful, just enough to get a good diversity in the metagame. Zendikar Rising, gaining life for the first time each turn. Attendant Healer and Cleric of the Life's Bond. From Zendikar Rising, auto-equip as a keyword. When this equipment enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Or even more, you could add something more. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach this equipment to it. So it's an improvement. From Kaldheim, Axgard Cavalry could have: this creature has haste as long as you control another dwarf. In Strixhaven, the mastery spells could have a cleave-like keyword ability, like the one that it's in Innistrad Crimson Vow, Cleave. In Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, they used italic keywords, you could say, to explain the abilities. But they could also do the same to explain old abilities that have been used before with the mechanics that are using now. For instance, Consider spell could just read Surveil 1, draw 1 card. In Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, Nadar, the Dragon Paladin, should give you +1/+1 to all creatures you control for each dungeon with different name that you have completed. Well, also it should give it to himself, since he's the one who completed the dungeon. So he completes the dungeon and he doesn't get experience points. In Innistrad Midnight Hunt, the adversary cycle should have a keyword for their ability, kind of like multi-kicker. So they could reuse that keyword in future sets and save some text space in the text box. Daybound and Nightbound for the old werewolves. I hate Alchemy. I simply hate it. Please view the link, the part where I complain about Alchemy. But it could have been the perfect playground to try errated cards. Adding some errata to the cards. this is an idea of one of my friends called Diego. Just imagine adding the werewolves from Innistrad, Dark Ascension, Shadows over Innistrad, and Eldritch Moon to the set with the Daybound and Nightbound mechanic. It would have been the perfect playground to test if those old werewolves should have been errated. Let's compare two legendary creatures in 2 consecutive sets. First of all, Henrika Domnathi and Adeline. First, shout out to Wizards of the Coast. Why do you keep making non-competitive vampires? They are not competitive enough as a tribe. Now, let's talk about Henrika Domnathi. First of all, it's a 4-mana legendary creature that doesn't pass the dreaded lightning bolt test. And when it enters the battlefield, it doesn't have as much impact as Adeline would, with 1 less mana. For 4 mana, if they don't kill it before combat with a lightning bolt, before it transforms and survives that lightning bolt, you would only get 1 innocent blood trigger or 1 Phyrexian Arena trigger. It's not that big impact for me. Let's talk about the night side. It's just Vampire Nighthawk with 1 more power, 1 more toughness that could possibly give a small fire breathing boost to a couple of creatures, including herself. That's a total of 7 mana to do something. So 4 mana to cast her, and then transform her, and then 3 mana to activate the ability. It's not a big impact for a legendary creature, even less for a mythic card. So now let's talk about Adeline. She passes the lightning bolt test. She has an ability that it's useful when it enters the battlefield, because it creates a token even if she's not attacking. If you attack with another creature, each time you attack you create a token, so it buffs herself permanently, and you don't require any mana to activate those abilities. And furthermore, her ability allows her to attack and block all the time while growing up. I think Adeline is clearly better than Henrika. How do we improve Henrika then? Leave it at 4 mana, but change her into a 1/4 so she can pass the lightning bolt test. The Phyrexian Arena ability, it's okay. Let's switch the Innocent Blood ability to Diabolic Edict ability. So each opponent sacrifices a creature. When it's transformed, the same, 3/4 Flying, Lifelink, Death Touch, but with the cost of the ability only being 2 black, not 3 mana, 2 mana, 2 black mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that has Flying, Death Touch, and or Lifelink. That way it represents the flavor text that it says that she gets powered permanently via drinking demon blood. Now that's a legendary creature. No new Mardu. Edgar Markov? Wizards of the Coast, you had one job. You have created a new Mardu, black, white, red vampire for EDH, for Commander. Since you have created so many new black, white and red vampires, it would have been the perfect timing. It would increase the possibilities of Commander games. it doesn't matter if you have created another commander deck with white also in a color. So the white-blue spirit deck, and then a Maru deck for commander. It would have been perfect. It doesn't matter if you repeat a color in the commander decks. Why so much hype with Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Vampires if those beloved tribe creatures did not get a proper power-up? Wizards of the Coast changed the announced name of Innistrad Werewolves to Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Players who loved the old werewolves expected this set to improve the whole werewolf tribe, but actually it only improved the Aldrun's Epiphany deck. Even in draft, the most powerful color was black, with the zombies and a lot of removal. So no werewolves made it to the top tier of cards in Innistrad Werewolves. And the same happened in Innistrad Vampires for the Vampire tribe. Constructed did not change at all. And in draft, the most powerful color was green. And the only vampire that made it to the competitive scene was Edgar, in a deck filled with board wipes and planeswalkers, just because when he dies, he comes back, so he withstands board wipes. The only reason. Why do vampires keep going on different ways, while other tribes have such wonderful synergies with old cards each time they are printed? Elves usually give mana or ramp. Goblins have haste and they lower the casting cost. Soldiers pump each other and a lot, and they create tokens and they have vigilance. Zombies make players lose life, and they generate tokens also and sacrifice creatures. And merfolks have evasion and counterspells and a lot of lords that they pump each other. But vampires? They are not synergic with other vampires that are printed in other sets. In the original Zendikar we had multi-kicker for vampires. In Innistrad they get +1/+1 counters if they deal damage to an opponent. In Shadows over Innistrad they had the madness mechanic. On Ixalan there were tokens and lifelink. And in Innistrad Vampires there are blood tokens. Where's the synergy? It is the tribe with the least love from Wizards of the Coast through the years. It does not feel like a coherent tribe. It disputes the same spot as zombies do for the small to medium-sized creature in black, since the big creatures in black are demons, so they should have their own spotlight. I truly believe that they could become an amazing coherent tribe like other color counterparts there are. I have my ideas, but it's not the matter at hand. I did not get the chance to become a magic card designer because I live in Europe. Just maybe, in the future, we will be able to see the vampires as the clever, elegant, powerful creatures of the night they are. I have been playing Magic the Gathering since 1995, with a break between 1999 and 2004 because of my studies. I have a nice collection of cards and a fair amount of decks of different formats, whose strategies I have designed myself. I don't like copying decks, and although there are several cards that have been made to be together. I have my own land collection, although I use proxies in all my design decks. I swap the proxies for the original cards when I go to play an official tournament. But to play with friends, I only use as proxies the cards I already own. I never proxy any card I don't have. So when I choose a deck to play in a tournament, I swap the proxies for the original cards and go and play at the event. Once the event is finished, when I come back home, I swap it back so I can keep my collection and my complete decks that I can play anytime with friends. I have most of Magic the Gathering expansions, like Plane Chase, Alchemy, or Explorers of Ixalan. I was a level 2 judge since 2010 until 2017. I had to quit because of my job. I have participated twice in becoming a Magic the Gathering card designer, but I didn't make it, since I live in Europe, in Spain. I believe there are two important parts in this game, which are designing your own strategy, your ideas, what you want to play, and playing it. Usually people only do the second part, which is copying a deck on the internet. But I believe that way you miss half of the fun. And what I really want is that everyone enjoys this wonderful game, so we can have fun together, enjoy the time, learn new things, and become better, both as a player and as a person, because with the interactions that you have with people with this game, you just become more. So thank you very much for listening to all my babbling and all the things that I had to say. I enjoyed making this video, and I hope that it helps someone, just a little bit. Take care.